In the brutal theater of human conflict, ingenuity knows no bounds. Throughout history, the drive to outwit adversaries has sparked some of the most extraordinary and bizarre creations imaginable. Today, we're counting down the strangest military technologies ever devised. From bat bombs to pigeon-guided missiles, these inventions teetered between genius and madness. Join me as we explore a hidden world where desperation and creativity collide on the battlefield. If you enjoy uncovering the unusual side of history, subscribe and like this video to support more stories like these. During World War II, American planners hatched a wild idea: weaponize bats. Project X-Ray aimed to drop thousands of bats, each carrying a tiny incendiary bomb over Japanese cities. The bats would roost in wooden buildings, igniting widespread fires. A dental surgeon, Little S. Adams, championed the project and the military approved it. But in testing, armed bats accidentally set fire to a U.S. airbase, destroying hangars and a general's car. Ultimately, the atomic bomb overshadowed the bat bomb, and Project X-Ray was cancelled in 1944. It remains a strange footnote in the history of weaponized wildlife. Not all weapons are designed to kill. In 1994, the U.S. Air Force explored a bizarre idea: the gay bomb. The plan? Drop a chemical aphrodisiac on enemy troops to disrupt morale and discipline. The concept relied on the unfounded belief that sexual orientation could be chemically manipulated. No such chemical exists, and the project never left the drawing board. It later won an IG Nobel Prize for its absurdity, a reminder that military brainstorming sometimes veers into the surreal. The gay bomb stands as a peculiar relic of Cold War-era thinking. During the tumultuous years of Wintu, when innovation was paramount and unconventional ideas were often embraced, psychologist B.F. Skinner, a pioneer in behavioral science, proposed a rather unique and at first glance unbelievable solution: using pigeons to guide missiles. It sounds like something out of a cartoon, but it was a serious proposal. The concept was surprisingly straightforward. Trained pigeons, through operant conditioning, would be placed inside the missile's nose cone. Their task? To peck at a screen displaying an image of the target. Each peck was a command. This pecking action, in turn, would control the missile's guidance fins, effectively steering the weapon in real time towards its intended destination. The pigeons became the navigators, the brains inside the bomb, so to speak. Through rigorous training and positive reinforcement, the birds became remarkably accurate at identifying and targeting specific objects on the screen. Skinner's methods proved surprisingly effective. Each successful peck, each accurate hit on the target, was immediately rewarded with a tasty grain pellet. This positive feedback loop reinforced the desired behavior, turning the pigeons into highly motivated and surprisingly precise missile guidance systems. Despite the promising results and the ingenuity of the idea, the military, perhaps understandably, harbored deep reservations. They doubted the wisdom and, frankly, the sanity of entrusting sophisticated weapon systems to the whims of birds. Nevertheless, the project continued through various successful tests, demonstrating the feasibility, if not the practicality, of pigeon-guided missiles. The pigeons consistently outperformed expectations. However, despite the encouraging outcomes, Project Pigeon was officially cancelled in 1944. The war effort demanded reliable and readily deployable solutions, and pigeon-guided missiles, however accurate, were deemed too unconventional and risky. The project was ultimately abandoned in favor of emerging electronic guidance systems which, while still in their infancy, offered a more technologically advanced and, in the eyes of the military, a more dependable alternative. Interestingly, the Navy briefly revived the concept a few years later under the new moniker of Project Orcon, an acronym for Organic Control. But alas, history repeated itself, and Project Orcon suffered the same fate as its predecessor, ultimately being shelved once again, relegated to the annals of forgotten military experiments. Despite its ultimate failure, the idea of pigeon-guided missiles remains a fascinating testament to creative problem-solving and the willingness to explore unconventional approaches in times of crisis. It also serves as a reminder of the inherent limitations of military imagination, the tendency to favor established technologies over potentially groundbreaking, albeit unorthodox innovations. It just goes to show that sometimes even the most outlandish and seemingly absurd ideas, the ones that make you scratch your head and wonder, can get their moment in the spotlight, however brief, and leave a lasting impression on the history of scientific and military innovation. In WW1, Russian engineers built the Tsar tank, a giant armored tricycle with two 30-foot front wheels. Designed to crush obstacles and cross trenches, it looked like a mobile fortress. But its small rear wheel got hopelessly stuck in soft ground during its first test. The massive machine was abandoned, left to rust in a forest. Its size, meant to be its strength, proved its undoing. The Tsar tank stands as a cautionary tale of ambition outpacing practicality. Sometimes, bigger isn't better. The beaches of Normandy were heavily fortified, a seemingly impenetrable wall of concrete and steel. To breach these formidable Nazi defenses on D-Day, the Allied forces needed more than just manpower and conventional weaponry. They needed a game-changer, a device that could overcome the seemingly insurmountable obstacles that lay ahead. The challenge was immense, requiring ingenuity and a willingness to explore unconventional solutions. In the face of this daunting task, British engineers conceived a rather peculiar solution. They put their minds together, fueled by wartime urgency and a desire to break through the enemy's lines. The result of their brainstorming was the Great Panjandrum, a top-secret project shrouded in both hope and a healthy dose of skepticism. This wasn't your average military hardware. The Great Panjandrum was a massive rocket-propelled wheel, an ambitious and somewhat outlandish contraption designed to roll over obstacles and deliver a devastating blow to enemy fortifications. Its sheer size and unconventional design made it a spectacle to behold, a testament to the creative, if sometimes misguided spirit of wartime innovation. But the Panjandrum wasn't just about size and spectacle. It was designed to be a mobile demolition device, packed with explosives. The idea was simple: deliver a massive payload of high explosives directly to the enemy's doorstep, obliterating bunkers and clearing the way for advancing troops. Cordite rockets were strategically placed to propel this explosive-laden wheel forward, promising a swift and decisive breach in the enemy's defenses. The plan was audacious, bordering on the absurd. The plan: launch it from a landing craft directly onto the beaches of Normandy. The hope was that the rockets would ignite, sending the Panjandrum hurtling towards the enemy defenses. Let it rocket up the beach, a terrifying and unstoppable force of destruction. The ultimate goal was to breach the seemingly impenetrable Nazi defenses. The vision was clear. The Panjandrum would slam into the concrete fortifications, detonating its explosive payload and blast through concrete walls. However, the reality of the Panjandrum was far different from the initial vision. In reality, the Panjandrum was wildly unstable, a chaotic and unpredictable machine. Instead of a controlled and directed assault, the Panjandrum had a mind of its own, veering off course with alarming frequency. The test runs quickly devolved into scenes of near panic, with the device spinning erratically and scattering test crews. Despite numerous attempts to refine its design and improve its stability, modifications failed to tame it. The Panjandrum remained a dangerous and unpredictable beast. Ultimately, the risks outweighed the potential rewards. The weapon was scrapped before ever seeing combat, deemed too dangerous and unreliable for deployment. Despite its failure, the Panjandrum wasn't entirely forgotten. Grainy footage of its chaotic test runs survives, offering a glimpse into the world of wartime experimentation. It serves as proof of wartime desperation, a reminder of the lengths to which nations will go in pursuit of victory, even if it means embracing the absurd. The Panjandrum is a fiery example of innovation gone awry, a cautionary tale about the perils of unchecked ambition and the importance of practicality. Sometimes, the most dangerous weapon is the one you build yourself, a creation that turns against its creators and poses a greater threat than the enemy. In war, not every wild idea pays off. Some are destined to remain as intriguing footnotes in the annals of military history. The Schwerer Gustav was the largest artillery piece ever used in combat, a railway gun weighing 1,350 tons. Built by Germany to smash fortresses, it fired shells the size of cars. It took weeks to assemble, required 2,000 men, and was vulnerable to air attack. Its most famous feat: destroying a Soviet ammunition depot buried deep beneath Sevastopol. Despite its power, the Gustav gun was slow, impractical, and quickly outdated. Only two were built, and both were soon obsolete. The Gustav gun is a monument to the limits of brute force in warfare. During the Cold War, US satellites spotted a giant craft skimming the Caspian Sea, the Soviet Ekranoplan, or Caspian Sea Monster. This ground-effect vehicle flew just above the water using a cushion of air for lift. It could carry troops or missiles at high speed, nearly invisible to radar. The Soviets built several models, including the missile-armed Lun class, but Ekranoplans were hard to pilot, needed calm seas, and were vulnerable during takeoff and landing. With the Soviet Union's collapse, these strange hybrids were abandoned. The Ekranoplan remains a glimpse of an alternate path in military transport. In 1-2, the Soviet Red Army trained dogs to destroy enemy tanks. Dogs were conditioned to run under tanks for food, then fitted with explosives. On the battlefield, confusion reigned. Many dogs ran back to their own lines, causing chaos. The program was short-lived and ethically troubling, with questionable effectiveness. The Germans began shooting all dogs on sight. By 1942, anti-tank dogs were abandoned for more conventional weapons. It's a grim reminder of how desperation can weaponize even man's best friend. During the relentless battles of World War II, the Allied forces faced a daunting challenge, protecting vital Atlantic convoys from the lurking threat of German U-boats. These convoys were the lifelines, carrying essential supplies and reinforcements across the vast ocean. In the face of this peril, British inventor Geoffrey Pike, a man known for his unconventional ideas, proposed a radical solution: building aircraft carriers not from steel but from ice. It seemed like a far-fetched dream, but Pike was convinced it could work. The secret to this icy behemoth? Pykrete, a revolutionary material. Pykrete was not just ordinary ice, it was a carefully engineered composite, a mix of ice and wood pulp. The addition of wood pulp dramatically altered the properties of the ice. This seemingly simple addition made the resulting material far tougher than concrete and surprisingly resistant to melting. It was a game-changer. The planned Habakkuk carrier, named after the biblical prophet, would have been a colossal structure, dwarfing even the largest ships of the time, stretching over 2,000 feet long. Imagine the sheer scale of such a vessel. To withstand the rigors of the Atlantic, the carrier would have featured incredibly thick walls, measuring a staggering 12 meters thick. This was necessary to provide the structural integrity and insulation required for such a massive ice structure. Maintaining the ice structure required a massive refrigeration system, a network of pipes and cooling units working tirelessly to counteract the warming effects of the ocean and the sun. To prove the viability of the concept, a prototype was constructed on Patricia Lake in Canada. This smaller-scale model demonstrated that the Pykrete construction and refrigeration system could indeed function as intended. But despite the successful prototype, the Habakkuk project was ultimately scrapped, primarily due to its exorbitant cost. The sheer scale of the undertaking made it a financial burden that was difficult to justify. Logistical challenges also played a significant role, as did the changing wartime needs. As the war progressed, new technologies and strategies emerged, rendering the Habakkuk less critical, and so, the Habakkuk melted into obscurity, both literally and figuratively, becoming a forgotten relic of a time when audacious ideas were pursued with unwavering determination. It stands as a monument to thinking outside the box. Sometimes the wildest ideas, the most ambitious dreams, are simply left to thaw in history's shadows, relegated to the realm of what-ifs and forgotten possibilities. The ice ship that never sailed, the Habakkuk, remains one of World War II's strangest and most fascinating what-ifs, a testament to human ingenuity and the boundless capacity for innovation, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. Before D-Day, the Allies created a phantom army to fool the Germans. The Ghost Army used inflatable tanks, fake radio traffic, and recorded sounds to simulate entire divisions. Artists, sound engineers, and radio operators staged elaborate deceptions across England. Their masterpiece, Operation Fortitude, convinced the Germans the invasion would come at Pas de Calais, not Normandy. This ruse kept enemy divisions away from the real landing sites. The Ghost Army proved that in war, imagination can be as powerful as firepower. Sometimes the best weapon is a convincing illusion. From anti-tank dogs to ice carriers, we've explored a world where desperation breeds wild invention. These stories remind us that innovation is rarely a straight line. It's often chaotic, driven by necessity and bold ideas. For every success, there are countless strange failures left behind. Yet, these oddities reveal the boundless creativity of the human mind under pressure. Thank you for joining this journey through the peculiar and profound. Subscribe and like for more hidden stories from history's fringes.